plane.
Welcome to episode 20 of the Diapers on the Plane weekly vlog / podcast Happy Fun Time. We are back in Utah.
That was a long pause. And we are here at Mill Creek Canyon, which is one of our favorite canyons here in Utah, because there were definitely a few things that we missed, and we're going to get to that. But today we are going to be talking all about what it was like being an expat for 3 months living in South Korea.
Yes, we are.
So this is kind of your quick and brief and down and dirty, everything you need to know about living abroad in South Korea, at least from our point of view. So let's get right to it. Why did our family choose to live in South Korea?
So, as you may know, I'm a full-time professor, and there was an opportunity that came up to teach at the campus in South Korea. I didn't know
really what it would entail.
No, I didn't.
But that was part of the fun.
Yeah.
All right. And what months did we visit?
So we were there the end of May all the way through early August, so nearly 3 months.
So it ended up being 74 days, which typically you would think 3 months, 90 days, but it was actually 11 and a half weeks. So due to the structure of it with a 7-day week, it ended up being 11 and a half. So it was almost exactly a full 3 months.
Which was kind of nice. It was a working trip, so it was 6 weeks of teaching and about a month of just checking out South Korea and all it has to offer.
Yeah, so we were in Seoul. Seoul is typically what you think of, the capital of South Korea. We were in Incheon, which is south of Seoul and west of Seoul. So it's about 45 kilometers away.
Yep.
And we were actually in a city called Songdo, which is the world's smartest city.
Very smart.
And it's only about a decade old, and it was built for families and for this university in particular. Several universities are there. So it's called the Incheon Global Campus, and we lived in faculty housing there. All right. So how did we get around? Number one.
We either walked a long ways or we subwayed a long ways, or occasionally we would find a cheap flight, which was, by occasionally, I mean one time.
And where did we go?
We went to Jeju Island.
Yeah, so we wanted to go to Busan as well, which is on the East Coast, southern East Coast. But we did end up going to Jeju Island, which was amazing. And we learned so much history about South Korea while we were there. So we definitely recommend that. And you can get flights for like $15. But the subway's pretty cheap too.
Oh, the subway's really cheap. You have just transit cards and you fill them up with some cash, and they last quite a while.
And it seems like no matter where you go, it's like $1.
Between $1 and $3. Like to get to Seoul's like $3.
I think it was like 1,300 won when I did it coming home that one day.
Pretty cheap.
So, and then it was like 1,200 won to go one stop. So it seems like you take the subway, it doesn't really matter how far you go. It's right around that range. And then you can transfer to the bus system, and that's pretty simple too. All throughout Seoul. So it's all interconnected. All right. What was the weather like?
So the weather when we got there was awesome. So we just started, I guess, summer in Utah when we left, and it was just...
Well, it was flooding in Utah when we left. Hey, how was the weather in Korea?
Really hot.
Really hot, yeah.
It was really hot towards the end. So when we left Utah, it had been raining for about 3 weeks straight. There were the floods, and it was crazy. And then when we got to Korea, it was just kind of fresh and cool.
Yeah, it was like the perfect temperature when we got there. And then it just started slowly heating up over time. That by the time we left, we never wanted to leave the apartment. It was so hot.
I think the word is sweltering.
Well, it was called Sambok, right? And what's that?
That's the dog days of summer in Korea.
Yes.
Which has a different meaning than other dog days. Apparently they eat dog.
All right. So how was it being an expat? And so when we mean expat, we mean Americans living in a culture that's not American.
It was interesting. So, yeah, it was interesting even considering yourself an expat, which we were, because technically we were living there, right? So everybody asked where you were from, and we would say America.
Well, we'd say the state, and nobody knew what the state was. So then we'd say United States, and they'd be like, "Oh, America." So then we just started saying America.
Because I think it's not uncommon to have non-Koreans there, but they are all different languages and dialects.
Europeans and all over
Yeah.
the world.
And so it was fun. Everyone was super, super nice. Everybody.
They loved our children. Our children were a main attraction everywhere we went, all the way from the 8-year-olds down to the baby. But of course, the baby was very, 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 very special.
Oh, everybody wanted to hold our baby everywhere.
Yeah. So at first, it was really unsettling because, you know, in America, that's not, you don't really go around grabbing other people's babies. But there was a lot of like clapping, doing this.
Well, everyone.
Yeah, and then they'd get so excited if she would reach towards them. And there were only a few times that she wouldn't, and she would like lay her head on my shoulder. And most people were respectful of that. A few weren't. But you just have to be assertive. You just have to say no, or or walk away or turn around.
The other thing that was interesting with the kids is how much candy they were given, and then money. Like people would give them money and candy, and they were always amazed that we had 4 kids.
Right, 4 was a lot. You would hear them counting them a lot. But how much money did the kids end up?
They ended up with like $60, and it's like we would try to give it back, and they would refuse, or they would like give them money and then step off the subway.
Yeah, so it was like they didn't want it. They wanted to be sure that.
And they do that with candy too. Like just before people would get off the subway, they'd hand big bags of treats to our kids.
Yeah. How was speaking the language in Korea? Hard. Why?
I didn't learn too much.
What did we try and learn more?
Yeah.
And what happened?
It didn't work out.
Why didn't it work out?
We forgot.
We did. It was hard. It was hard to learn. But in Songdo, where we
Is that a shell?
that's awesome.
I love it.
So in Songdo, everything was in English and Korean. So it was really easy to navigate there. And if it wasn't in English, you could always like see pictures, and people tried really hard to communicate with us. And we equally tried hard. We did a lot of gestures. The one thing everybody does know in English is how much is it, or what's the price. And people will hold out calculators, and everything's on the calculator. And so that made it a lot easier. But the language barrier wasn't as hard as you would think it would be.
One way or another, you get your point across. We would use Google Translate a lot, so we'd either speak into it and then have them read it.
Yeah.
If you ever did the thing where you talk and then they're supposed to talk, 9 times out of 10, they would just they'd push buttons on your phone. So I kind of gave up on that, but it wasn't too bad. Songdo was really good, and then there's always somebody who speaks English who is like always looking for an opportunity to practice their English and help you out.
Yeah, one thing they do is they add aseo to everything, or nita. And so it was really interesting. If you did end up saying aseo at the end of stuff, they would almost understand you a little better. So you could just use the English version and say aseo, and it seems like it would help.
And then we learned some of the words, like if you want to ask for a fork, it's called a pokey.
Yeah.
So, like, can we pokey sao? And they'd be like, oh yeah, here's your pokey.
So of course, being an expat, there were definitely things that we missed. I think in reference to the language, we missed like just really being able to communicate just freely. And the second that we got off the plane in LA, I was like, it was shocking to kind of like be able to overhear people's conversations, because we'd gone a full 3 months without being able to understand anyone.
Well, and I think we would, so when we go to like convenience stores or even grocery shopping, we would have no clue what the cashiers were saying, but we knew like what was coming. So it's like we go through the motions, and I think they thought we could understand them, but it's like, oh, now it's you put your card in.
Right.
Yes, we would like a bag, even though could not understand what they're saying.
Right.
But we just got used to like
there we go. Okay.
the processes.
Another thing I missed is my rollers. I missed curling my hair.
Oh, we went through. Yeah, I tried to buy like 2 or 3 different power inverters to try and get her curlers to work.
So it was
no
a long,
luck.
dry summer without curling my hair. I also missed garlic bread, because all the garlic bread in Korea is sprinkled with sugar.
And she just kept trying.
I did.
Like, this looks like garlic bread, and this isn't garlic bread.
I missed it. I missed easy food. Like there's no such thing as easy food. And they don't have fast food there. There was a Subway, but of course that's American.
They had Burger King. Well, I see what you're saying.
Yeah, but those are all American versions.
I think technically like the fried chicken and a lot of that stuff is fast food.
Yeah, but like when you went out to eat there, it was always like a complicated process.
Right.
And I missed just always knowing what you were eating, knowing what you were doing, knowing what was about to happen. Like I missed that. And even though we got the hang of it and you can pretty much, kind of figure out what was happening, I just missed the ease of that. All right. You were going to say something you missed. What did you miss?
Swimming.
Swimming was rough, wasn't it?
Swimming was hard.
Yeah, and you just swim, you float in life jackets.
That's right. And what about your pretty hair? What did you have to do with that in the water?
I had to cover it.
Yeah, that's right.
Swim caps. You have like official like swimming attire you have to wear. It's very regulated. You kind of just wade in the water. People don't swim for fun. And so since we've been back in Utah, we've been to our local swimming pool like every day.
Yeah, every day. All right.
Which we should show a video of. Miss Pi learned how to do a front flip.
She did. So since we've been home just in the past couple of days, she has learned how to do a perfect front flip, haven't you? That's right. How is it? How long did it take you to learn it?
2 days.
No, maybe 2 tries. Good job. All right. So what are the main differences between America and Korea?
The language, for one.
Yeah, language is huge. And it's not just a different language, it's a different alphabet, which is huge. And so we talked a little bit earlier, we did try and learn more words. We also learned how to count. In Korean, we learned how to count all the way up to the thousands, which is actually very easy. It's a lot like math. So you learn one section, and then, you want to say something? Okay.
We can say something in Korean. It's Sam-O ship.
Good. And what does that mean?
I don't know.
What does it mean, guys?
It means she just said 13. She just said 13. She said 3 and 5 and 10.
Good, that's right.
5, 10, 11.
All right.
5, 10, 11.
But then we found out that even though we knew how to count in Korean, that they always mix Chinese and Korean when they're talking about ages or when they're telling the time or when they're counting things at the grocery store. So when we tried to use numbers there, they always looked at us like, we don't know what you're talking about. You were talking nonsense, because apparently we were. So
I gave up.
Yeah, that was really hard.
Which I feel really bad about. I think if we were ever to go back, I think I'd
try. Well, if we were there for a longer,
try a little harder.
Yeah, I'd want to get a tutor.
Yeah.
Because you really need somebody to explain things to you. Things are a lot more expensive. Like when it comes to groceries, you're not going to go get a bag of apples or a watermelon for $4. We got home, we went to the grocery store, we bought 2 watermelons for $5. 1 watermelon in Korean was $17.
Now that took some getting used to. I think we finally kind of figured out at the end, but it was too late, that we found these farmers markets where local vendors sell produce far cheaper. And I think the reason it's cheaper, it's like the not perfect fruit, I think, but it's perfectly fine.
Yeah.
And it's like a third of the price. So if we were to go back, we would find more of the farmers markets to buy our food at, so that we could not spend so much.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
We could have saved hundreds of dollars at the farmer's market. People love babies. That's not to say that Americans don't love babies, but they are such an anomaly in Korea, especially coming from Utah. Like everybody's a family. Shh, that's loud. There's so many families in Utah, but in Korea, it is just babies are such an anomaly. Big families are unheard of. And so we were like a spectacle. Lots of time, Gabe always described it as feeling like an animal in a zoo.
Yeah, you'd be walking your stroller down and people would just step in front of you and stop you. Didn't matter if you had somewhere to go. They were just like, nope.
Yeah.
Like we're gonna.
Yeah, they had no concern for our agenda at all. It's also super safe. We never worried about theft or any sort of danger or crime or our kids ever, being in a place that they shouldn't be. Like we just never worried about it. In fact, we lost things so many times. We lost a backpack. We lost a cell phone. We lost a
Scooter.
and every single time.
Can I also say?
Yes, come on.
And we lost we lost his jacket on the airplane bathroom.
Yeah,
Yes,
we
we
didn't
didn't
get
get that one back. We didn't realize it till we were in another city.
That one stayed in Jeju Island.
Yeah, but hopefully someone is enjoying it. It was pretty brand new. So,
Jacket ever.
sorting your
Garbage.
was a big difference. We definitely recycle here. We have our plastic and our cardboard, but they take it to a whole nother level. Like they have a compost separation there as well. Everything is complicated.
And the watermelons, one was $25.
We did. There was varying prices on the watermelon.
And this was the shortest price, $5.
Yes, we did end up finding
$5
one.
for a very small watermelon.
That's right.
But
yeah,
here you can buy 2 small watermelons for $5.
that's right. So everything is complicated. Like the food is complicated. The desserts are complicated. Like everything's complicated.
Oh, that's right. So everywhere we'd go, people were always taking selfies or asking us to help them take selfies, which I guess technically isn't a selfie at that point. But they would pose, and it was very serious business. And even at a lot of the theme parks and different attractions that we'd visit would have designated selfie areas. And that was one of the main draws, as people would go into these interesting places to take their fancy selfies. A very Instagram-focused country.
Yeah.
And which was interesting at school, a lot of it I'd bring up, like, you guys should really get into LinkedIn. It's a more professional type thing. And they're like, Instagram. Yeah, which makes sense, right? Well, it doesn't make sense, but they're a very fashion-forward country. You don't go out in sweats, or you never go out dressed less than perfect.
Well, you never even saw people wearing shirts
No.
like you're wearing here. It's like they were always in blouses and dress shirts and slacks and
And they were always in pants.
yes, and they wore pants even in the hot summer.
Yeah, I was told by some students that how important fashion is, which I mean I would teach in a t-shirt and flip-flops, so I was not.
Nobody wears flip-flops there.
I was very
Nobody
American.
wears flip-flops there, and they all wear socks all year round. Like you couldn't buy flip-flops and you couldn't find flip-flops and you couldn't see anybody wearing flip-flops.
Yep. So selfies were a big deal. Everyone's on their cell phones, no matter what age. But I guess that's true here too, so not that big a difference.
So what were our favorite foods?
Our favorite foods. So one of my favorites was the chicken galbi. It was this rib chicken meat that is pretty spicy and so chicken galbi was this hot chicken like in a skillet with shredded cheese around it that would melt, and you dip the galbi, the chicken, in the cheese, and it was just really good. It was spicy. So all the food was very, very spicy. And at first it was too spicy for us, and then I think we all kind of acclimatized to it. And I kind of always wanted the spicy at that end. Other favorite dishes was we had some of the most amazing pork barbecue.
Well, technically, the chicken galbi is Korean barbecue too, because
Yeah.
it cooks at your table.
Mhm.
But like the Korean barbecue that you think of when you think of Korean barbecue, I don't. We've actually never had Korean barbecue before going to Korea,
Yeah.
but now I'm really interested to try it in the States and see how it compares, because now we've had like the authentic, real
Yeah.
Korean barbecue.
But one of the things I really loved about Korean restaurants is they're very communal, in that, like in the States, typically you just order for yourself. But they're very big into having like a hot plate or a gas range at the table to cook the food. And it's always, you buy the plates for like 2 to 3 or 4 people. And everyone, takes it off of there and puts it on their plates. And I love that. I love that thing about it. And we had so much fun at all the restaurants. So that was the barbecue, the galbi.
So one other thing about the barbecue. So again, we've never had it in the States, but if you go to Korea to have barbecue, there's 2 different types. There's the one where they cook it for you, and then the one where you have to cook it yourself. And there's probably a way of knowing which one it is before you go, but we had no way of knowing. And so that's something you want to keep in mind. Like, make sure you know which one it is before you go.
Other than that, another big one was bingsu. That was Catherine's favorite and the kids' favorite.
We went to Bingsu. We tried to go every other day because every day seemed a little excessive, but every other day seemed okay.
So,
But bingsu is Korean shaved ice. So instead of shaving ice, they shave milk, ice milk, and then they top it with ice cream and fruit and condensed milk, cookies, brownies, cheesecake, just all.
it was pretty amazing,
Yeah.
and we've heard there are a few places in Utah that serve it.
Yeah, so we're gonna try it
I
out.
think we've mentioned that in previous posts, but it's worth mentioning again. Other than that, what else do we like? There were a lot of little things I really enjoyed, like the kimbap at the gas stations.
Yeah, the kimbap's great. It's rice filled. It's like a rice sandwich. So seaweed is the wrapper, and then rice, and then like tuna or chicken or other good stuff.
And that's my favorite snack in Korea.
The gimbap?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was fun. I like the chicken teriyaki.
And my favorite food in Korea was Korean Chinese food.
Oh,
Yes.
so good. The Korean Chinese is amazing.
Oh, they sell this sweet and sour pork that comes in this clear, like barely tinged purple sauce, and it is like nothing you've ever tasted.
And the black bean noodles are
Jjajangmyeon.
Which the
I'm trying to say that
jjajangmyeon,
wrong.
kids all love it. I love the seafood jjajangmyeon pasta curries. You cannot go wrong with Korean Chinese food. It's now our favorite Chinese food.
No, and we can't forget the KFC, Korean fried
Yes.
chicken. Like they batter that chicken somehow in the most delectable way. It is just absolutely like the greatest thing you've ever eaten.
Yeah.
And the greatest place to get it is on Uber Eats. It's called
Songdo barbecue.
yeah. And
It's
what
so good.
what do you order?
The garlic honey chicken. Oh, so good.
It's amazing.
It's making me hungry just thinking about it right now.
All right. And what were some of our favorite activities?
Favorite activities? Definitely. Okay, some of the things you have to hit. The jjimjilbangs.
Yeah.
We did that right at the beginning at a place called Spasis. We have a pretty good write-up on our blog. But you go there and you, they're like, how do you explain that? Bathhouse?
Yeah.
It's like
Korean
these
bathhouse.
Korean bathhouse. So you have the baths where we've explained it before, but it's all nude and you get all scrubbed down, and then you go and relax up in the upper areas, which have saunas, cold rooms, food. A lot of people will sit and watch K-dramas,
Massage chairs.
chairs,
Yeah. Books, billiards.
and it's cheap.
yeah.
So it's just like, it's a fun day to go and relax. Kids are welcome. It's a beautiful thing. So look it up, Jjimjilbang.
Yeah, the pool was closed the day we went. All right. Lotte World was our favorite theme park we went to. It is the largest indoor-outdoor theme park. It's located in Seoul, and it was tons of fun. The only reason that we chose it over Everland is just because it was geared more towards younger children.
But I did love the experience of Everland.
Yeah, no, Everland was great.
But they're like the Disneylands of
But you
Korea.
had to go on a 7-hour subway.
Yeah, it felt like 7 hours.
It was.
For sure.
It was.
Yes.
The DMZ, so we ended up going to the border of North Korea. We were within 100 meters. We did a previous vlogcast about that, but that was an amazing highlight. There was
Okay, so the DMZ, the demilitarized zone is it's a little 2-kilometer area that is in between the border of North and South Korea. We took family there. We got to peer into Quezon City, which it always confuses me because Quezon City is like one of the capitals in the Philippines, but I guess it's spelled differently. So it always made me like, what is going on?
Q for Philippines, K for North
Yeah.
Korea. And we got to see the propaganda village. We got to see the third infiltration tunnel. We talked a lot about this in a previous one, so we won't cover it too much, but it's definitely a highlight. If you are going to Seoul, you definitely want to do that.
Okay. Top of that, like we said, it's really kid-friendly there. They have like these kids cafes where you check your kids in for a couple hours, and it's basically a playland for them where they're supervised.
And you get babies. It's not free babysitting, but
No.
it was like $10 for 2 hours. And they had this huge jungle gym that they got to go play. And we didn't get to go in. So
Wonderland.
it's a wonderland. What was your favorite? So which ones did you do? You did an art cafe, Lego cafe.
That one was my favorite.
Yes.
And then we went to one in a square one mall that was a mix of all of them.
Ah, yes.
And it's all the Legos you can build.
Yeah, so all the sets, right?
Yeah.
Like Lego sets.
Yeah, I almost finished on the
Come
Spider-Man
over here
one.
so they can see
And
it.
I almost finished the Spider-Man one when I went there.
Mhm.
The second time. And the first time.
And so what kind of activity you went? The last one you went to, why did you want to go to that one?
Because it had go-karts.
Yes, bicycle go-karts, huh?
Yeah, and you could only go around.
I already know. Tell them.
And you could only go around 3 times. And then you had to leave.
That sounds fun. All right, so another place, an activity that we loved was Chinatown. There's a Korean Chinatown. There's a Japantown and a Chinatown. That was really fun. They had the best Chinese food there.
Yeah, they were really cool Chinese stores. They had these strawberry frozen skewers that we always got there. The Chinese food was the big draw that kept us coming back. But they had like a fairy tale village there with just these streets that had all decked out in like Disney fairy tale stuff. And it was just one of those places that was fun to repeat visit.
And then scooters. Scooters are huge. This again goes back to how kid friendly the area that we were in. So we had about a 15 to 20 minute walk to the subway, and then there was shopping everywhere. And so all the kids were on scooters, and the scooter of choice was like this 3-wheeled scooter. So if you left your scooter, it would just stand up. It didn't fall down like the Razor scooters in the US. And so we ended up getting the kids all some scooters, and they loved it. Every time we went somewhere, they didn't complain about walking because they got to scoot everywhere. So that was always really fun. They'll miss that. And then one thing we did while we were in Korea was we had the twins baptized.
Yes, that was a big deal. So that something we chose to do before we got there. So we're at LDS, and so when you're 8 years old, you get baptized in your church. And they turned 8 just before our trip. And we thought it would be a really good way to integrate them into a different culture by getting baptized there. And how was that?
It was
I'll stand over here.
It was amazing. I thought it was joyful. Yeah,
Joyful?
I did feel happier after.
That's awesome. What about you?
Same thing.
Same thing. Another thing you got to do while we were in Korea was you got to give your very first sacrament meeting talk. What did you give it on?
Service.
Service. That's right. All right. And we're kind of going to round it out. We talked about how safe it is. Another thing in relation to the scooters is like we would go to Costco, and because we rode the subway to Costco, said nobody ever, we would take the scooters because we were taking the subway, and the scooters would sit outside Costco 2-3 hours, however long it takes to go through Costco and stop at the food court, and they were right there when we came back out. Like nobody ever thinks to take anybody else's stuff.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's the thing about South Korea is like it never had been on our bucket list as a place to visit. Never really thought about it, but it was like refreshingly amazing and awesome. And it's a clean, like safe, lots of things to visit. Jeju Island, like we said, had beaches. There are beaches everywhere. Just an amazing culture. Very accepting and welcome.
Definitely one of the most unique cultures we've ever been to.
Yeah, and so I mean, if I had to describe the whole experience of doing this 3-month work stay thing, was that it was life-changing. It's something we'll always reflect on.
I would want to go back when it's not the middle of summer.
Oh, yeah.
That was a little rough.
The heat was rough.
Yeah, we've also heard like the winter's rough.
Yeah.
But spring's supposed to be great. And fall's probably great too. Yeah, always those in-between seasons. And then the thing you really want to know, was there anything we did not like? So we made a couple notes. I didn't like, it's going to seem really, really silly. I did not prefer the elevators. Elevators were so hard.
I don't know why they took so long.
Oh my goodness. Literally, we could wait for the elevator. I could walk all the way back through a shopping center to find the escalator, go up the escalator, and get home before he would go up the elevator with the stroller. Like, it was just ridiculous.
Wait an hour. Another 2 hours later. Still waiting for the elevator.
That's right. Another thing is there's not a lot of personal space in Asia. I think America really has the hold on the personal space. Like you said before, like people interrupt you, they come up to you, they grab your children, they bump into you and they don't apologize, but that's not considered rude. That's just people are going and coming, and that's just part of it.
So one of my pet peeves is I love the convenience of the subway systems there. I didn't like the inconvenience of... the way I always described it is we were 3 hours from everywhere, no matter what the distance. Korea is an extremely small country, but it sure takes a long time to get anywhere, but it is convenient and cheap. So, yeah, we miss not having a car.
Yeah. Yeah, just like I really loved not having a car. It really forced you to get out and exercise and walk and move. But at the same time, like we got to the point at the end where we were just like, I don't want to go.
Yep.
Because it's just going to take so long.
And part of that was our fault too, because I think halfway through the dean of the university told us that there was a car that we could use, but we'd have to go through a licensing process. And at that point, we just didn't.
It wasn't worth
it. It wasn't worth it.
Yeah.
Maybe it would have been, but we didn't do it. So.
All right, everybody, come back. So. Come here. All right. All right. So, how would you rate our 3-month stay in Korea? One word. Okay, go ahead. You start.
Ultimate.
Ultimate. What would you say?
Swimming.
How about bingsu?
Bingo.
KFC.
Fantastic.
Life-changing. That's too much.
Fantastic.
Hyphenated, so it's one word.
Chicken.
All right. Well, thanks for tuning in. If you do have any questions about South Korea, please don't hesitate to let us know. Make a comment, send us an email, contact us at diapersonaplane.com or reach out on one of our social channels. You can find all of our reviews of everything we did in South Korea at diapersonaplane.com. And yeah, we're in the mountain and there's some ash. All right. And please.
No.
Don't hesitate to hit subscribe, and we would love to hear from you.
Thanks for watching.
Help our marshmallows taste good.
Me too.